Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Shirley Ann Sullivan Educational Foundation's annual meeting. Thank you for taking the time to participate, and another thank you for taking the time to participate on Workplace. And looking at the email and learning how to contribute on Workplace is something that we appreciate because it allows us all to share information together. I want to start the meeting by saying thank you to everybody for your contribution last year. I mean, whether it was the mailings that Michelle and Suzanne completed, Suzanne and the finances, and working with me through my cloud of hay fever and pollen season here in Berlin, the programs where Tansy, Sarah Jane Palma, and Joao were a huge, enormous help. New ideas that we received from Salam and Joao as it relates to identifying new projects, fundraising, establishing relationships with child trafficking organizations and institutions. And we just appreciate everybody's contribution. We know everybody on the team is working, everybody is really busy, and everything that you give, we really, really appreciate. Thank you all from the bottom of my heart. This year, we'd like to nominate Joao Tien as a new director. His information will be sent to you via email, and we will do the nomination and the vote on Workplace. So I will nominate him. I need someone to second it, and I need everyone to vote. So you can vote via Workplace, or you can just send me an email and say, I agree, or say yes for the nomination of adding Joao Tien to the board of directors. Okay, great. Thank you for that. Let me see. Just want to take a moment and talk to you all about the V sign. And I know everybody knows what the V sign is. It's our child protection sign. When you make a V and you see a V, you should report it. Who would have thought that 5 years ago, when our team of directors said, okay, we're going to do something to stop child trafficking, and we created the V sign with a team of volunteers from all over the world. And Tansy and Sarah Jane really spearheaded the marketing of the V sign, the press releases of the V sign, creating the artwork for the V sign. And through these 5 years, what we learned is we thought we were creating a sign, which we did, to help children self-identify that they were in trouble. But along this road, we have learned that we have entered the world of children's human rights, or human rights for children. And we weren't prepared for it. We didn't sign up for it. We had no idea. But during this last 5 years, almost 6 years now, we've all, Tansy, Rhonda, Sarah Jane, and other volunteers, we've attended conferences, we've taken courses, we've partnered with other organizations to learn exactly what is human rights violations in children. And clearly, if we look at the United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child and other United Nations and international treaties that have to do with child protection, that buying and selling children, of course, is illegal for whatever purpose. And our initial purpose was to stop the sex trafficking of children, but we've ventured into other areas of child protection, like stop bullying, stop cyberbullying, identifying children who have been not only sexually abused, sexually trafficked, but harmed in any way. And so I just wanted to make that point. We see that what we've done, we've kind of moved a lot away from actual program implementation on the ground, where we were in the classrooms of primary schools and secondary schools, introducing the Millennium Development Goals and creating projects and programs around the goals that have since gone on to become their own programs, and in some ways their own youth-led institutions. So now we find ourselves in working with human rights for children, and as we progress into this field and we grow into this field, that we are taking steps now to partner with institutions that work in human rights, children's rights, and laws and policies about stopping human rights violations against children. And once again, I have to say it has been a learning process, but now we've come to a point where we've identified the things that we need to do to go forward. So what we're going to be asking each director, and we will work together on this, and this idea has actually come from Salam when she approached me a couple of months ago and said, look, why don't we look at a partnership between SASEF and the Human Rights Institute in Beirut? And I had to really think about it and say, okay, well, let's look and see what other institutions are doing on the ground in Beirut before we begin to do something on our own. But anyway, to make a long story short, where we are now as an institution and as a team, we want to look at each one of our directors, excuse me. I'm so sorry. We want to look at each one of our directors in every country and every state to begin to build relationships with organizations that are working to stop the trafficking of children and in human rights violations against children. And when I say working with, in the beginning, we just want to learn. We want to know what's happening in our own backyards. And I think beside the idea from Salon, we have to give a shout out to Sarah Jane because she's been working with the counter trafficking unit in Trinidad and Tobago. And I have to tell you, it's not something where you pick up the phone and say, hey, I want to work with you. What are you doing? And people are like, yeah, come in. You know, we want to collaborate like we do when we send a child to school with a scholarship or we create a youth serving program for children. When we're working in this field, it takes time for other organizations to, number one, trust you and to know that you're credible. And because of our ECOSOC status, we are credible. And because we now have nearly 6 years in the field, we are credible. And because we have attended some of major training across the globe in advocacy and human rights violations and international human rights law, and we have people on our team that are international human rights lawyers, that we are ready to take the steps to build those types of relationships, partnerships to go forward. So we have a relationship now with the Potsdam University, Child's Rights and Social Sciences. We're moving into our second year of working with them, and you can see what we've done with them so far in the programs report. And we just wrapped up another program with them in January of this year. And we've been asked to work on 2 more programs with the university this year. So that is where we're headed now. So if you notice that you don't see a lot of activity from us in the classroom, in primary schools, secondary schools, hosting education for employment conferences like we did in the years before, it's because we're giving more focus and energy to human rights for children under the umbrella of the V sign. I have to say again, Sarah Jane and Tansy, here we are. And to all of our other newer members on the team, we are so excited in going forward together. So let me take a quick look at my notes here to see where we are. Okay, so in the agenda, you also will see that we are asking every director to commit to raising $200 in 2019 for SASEF. $200 is not a large amount of money, but together it does become a considerable contribution, and it equals, you guys, like 55 cents a day. I mean, I don't know if you can even buy a cup of coffee for 55 cents a day, but we're asking each director once again to donate $200 to SASEF this year. So thank you for that contribution in advance. Let me see, what else do I have for you? I'm going to backtrack a little bit in going back to new directors. We also have a director or a volunteer who's been working with us for several years in Trinidad and Tobago, and she's been identified by Director Sarah J. Mungo, and her name is Dr. Paula Marks, and she comes to us, again, doctor, PhD, with history in child education, childhood development, and we'll be looking at welcoming her We're nominating her to the board. Maybe we'll have an emergency meeting later this year, or maybe it's something that we will look at the meeting in 2020. Okay, and I think I may have covered everything. So just to recap, okay, so this year we are thanking everyone for their contribution that they made last year. We truly, truly appreciate it. And we're committing to raising $200 per director. That's 55 cents a day per director. We are nominating Joao Tien as a new director. And we are going to look at partnering, each one of us, with partnering with a child's rights or human rights organization in our own backyards. And I will help you with the research on that. So this year, that's pretty much it. You'll have in your inbox from me the agenda, again, the bylaws, duties of the directors, the financials, and the program and activities report for 2018. Okay? Thank you, everyone. And again, thank you for your extra effort in working on Workplace. And thank you for your contribution to the Shirley and Sullivan Educational Foundation. Okay? Love you guys. Have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. Bye-bye.